O Allah, guide me among those whom thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what thou hast judged. Surely thou judgest, and none can judge against thee, and he whom thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art thou, O Lord, and exalted be thee above what they set up besides thee. I bear witness, nothing deserved to be served besides thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is thy servant and apostle. Amen.
You're tuned in to the Mind of an Entrepreneur show with your host, myself, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I am a multi-million-dollar business developer. I have developed business and real estate around the world, and I want to share with you my mental strategies, my technical strategies, and how I made it in the world of business. So I don't teach theory. I tell you about my life and introduce you to people who can also share with you what they've done to become successful. This is a practical show. This ain't a theory show. You don't want to miss it. So stay tuned. This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1 ounce 39 millimeter coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people. Yes, sir. You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself. Yes, sir. There will be a great separation. Yes, sir. So I said, it is on now.
The college is meant to prepare you for your future. That the time dictates that if we don't do something for ourselves as a people, we will be destroyed. And the aim of the enemy right now is to take us out.
We have God with us. We have Him as our guide. Yes, sir. We don't have to stand around here and ask the question, what must be done? Yes, sir. Get up and let's go and do something. Yes, sir. We cannot sit down. We cannot lay down. Yes, sir. We must get up. Yes, sir. And go to work.
Do you know what real joy is in life? Visioning something and bringing it into reality. That's real joy. Do you know what the next step in joy is? Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell in unity.
Tonight, you need to fasten your seatbelts. We're going to hear from some of the greatest minds in the world. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of trusting our future and the future of our children into the hands of those who don't love us. I believe we need to revitalize black leadership.
Greetings, family. Assalamu alaikum. I am Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Listen, get your tea, get your coffee, get ready for this discussion. This is the Mind of an Entrepreneur show, and I'm calling this Muhammad's Educational Roundtable in celebration of the birth month of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, Sajdah House, in partnership with the Black Muslim Business Directory. We are hosting this roundtable discussion on the influence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on independent education and how that educational process impacts our ability to compete in a global economy. So welcome to the discussion. I got some powerful people for y'all today. Let me just say a few things because I know I'm not going to get to say that much once we get talking. And let me turn off my phone for a second. And I usually do that before we get started. Look, building an economy requires that we develop a solid pipeline between our educational system and the world of business so that when you get ready to open a business, you're not impacted by the economic components that affect the current predatory capitalist system. See, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad built a $75 million, I call it a 75 plus $1 million empire as an example or a template. That empire was built in the midst of some of the most turbulent economic times in modern day history. Make sure you like and subscribe to this page, the Sajdah Wendy Muhammad YouTube page, and check out the episodes of the accomplishments of the Muslims. During one of the episodes, I did an entire economic comparison and analysis to help show you that what he gave us will work today because it worked in some of the worst economic times ever. I'm talking about when we had 20% inflation. Now, when you graduate from college or high school, or you need a job, you should have the option to tap into the business community that is being built by people who are your cultural comrades. As a businesswoman, I know all too well and understand from experience how critical it is to develop an educational pipeline that feeds our nation's economy. My businesses have been impacted by labor shortages in the past, as well as so-called well-educated employees who lack mathematical thinking skills and who are not interested in nation building. Most times it's not their fault though, because they've been indoctrinated into a culture that stresses the importance of behaviors that support the building of someone else's nation. And without other examples, how will they know? Our nation's entrepreneurs should work closely with the independent educators in our community. Listen, old business models no longer work. Y'all hear me say that all the time. So we can't take the same business models that have systemically biased us, bring them over to our new businesses. Because if we do, we'll be subject to the same interdependencies of that system. You know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to study the white man because he makes no excuses for his failures. So we have to study what works and infuse what we know so that we can create a system that serves our community. A successful educational system directly affects the success and global standing of our economy. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, many of y'all don't know this, is an early pioneer for Black independent education. He and his followers went to jail on the false charge of contributing to the delinquency of minors. In actuality, he fought to teach Black children outside of public schools whose curriculums would otherwise stifle their intelligence and educational growth. Let me say this thing to you about how the economy is impacted. Research shows and has shown that education is indeed one, if not the most important determinant of economic growth. Those who now have Afrocentric schools or charter schools, they enjoy that freedom because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad won that fight. His wife, Mother Clara Muhammad, and others taught the children in their homes once her husband went to jail. They are pioneers of what we now call homeschooling. Well, guess what? When he then later goes on to build this template for us of the $75 million empire, don't think that the development of that educational system didn't play into that. All right. That'll affect the gross domestic product. I could go on and on, but let's begin the dialogue and partnership between our educators and our business leaders. I want to introduce to you my guest. I have so many professionals in our community to choose from. My goal today is to begin a dialogue and raise our awareness around the importance of a strong working relationship between our entrepreneurs and our educators. And I want each of us in our own areas to take this conversation to our local areas and just continue to have that conversation. We have to include people in our broader community who are also interested in nation building, but we have to begin to facilitate a dialogue between the two of us. My guests this afternoon are professionals in the world of education. They are thought leaders who have invested a significant portion of their lives investing in our youth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them on to the screen. And once we get them on the screen, I'm going to introduce them. Okay, brother. I think Brother Malik, your camera's off, but that's okay. We'll get it together. Let me first introduce Sister Lisa R. Muhammad. And I'm going to make these bios. I'm going to shorten them a little bit. But Lisa is an educational youth development consultant. She has a long background in her dedication to the development of our youth. She owns several companies, one of which is STS Consulting. And she works as an administrator at MUI Chicago. And if you know Lisa, you know she's all about the youth, and she's had a lifelong generational investment in the development of our youth. So we want to welcome Lisa. Then we have our brother, Alaikum Salam. We have our brother Talib Muhammad. Brother Talib, oh, he didn't put the whole name up here. Talib Kareem. Okay, Brother Talib don't do this, so I'm just honored to have him. He is the director of MUI Chicago, and he's a professional educator. He's got that right energy that you could just learn from. And I can see the students just loving him. And our goal is to just elevate what each of our brothers and sisters are doing. But especially Brother Talib, I just want you to know that we honor you and we thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Then we have Brother Malik. Brother Malik, let me tell you, I was so impressed when I had a conversation. His camera's not on now, but he'll be back. He's been a registered member of the Nation of Islam. All of us are members of the Nation of Islam, but I want to say this specifically about him. He's been registered for 26 years. He and his wife, Sister Cherie Muhammad, have been blessed with 7 children, and they are intentional in their efforts to produce Muslim children. Their sacrifice, their struggle, their desire has led 6 of the 7 children into becoming active registered members of the Nation of Islam. And the 7th child has already declared that she will become the 6th to join the nation the moment she turns 16, inshallah. All 7 of Brother Malik and Sister Cherie's children were homeschooled. So he's going to add an interesting perspective to this. And they graduated with their high school diplomas between the ages of 13 through 15, respectively. So he's also the founder of New Foundation Educational Consultants and have been providing professional development, seminars, workshops, keynote addresses, and various trainings for the past 13 years. And so I'm honored to welcome Brother Malik. Brother Malik and I have a special connection because we're the adopted aunt and uncle of one of our nation's biggest influencers, Brother Ben X. But Ben X know how to pick him some influencers because he called me out the blue. Sis, assalamu alaikum. Would you be my auntie? And I think similar to Brother Malik. So we share that in common. Lastly, but not least, our powerhouse brother, Dr. Anthony S. Muhammad.
That's right.
Author and international thought leader. Listen, he's the CEO of New Frontier 21 Consulting. Listen, y'all, his resume is long, but let me just tell y'all this. He's so cold that he was recognized by the Global Gurus organization as one of the 30 most influential educational thought leaders 2 years in a row. And they probably should have gave it to him years before, but they just figured it out 2 years in a row.
That's right.
Look, he's a best-selling author. He got books, Revisiting Professional Learning Communities, Time for a Change, 4 essential elements of a transformational school leader, transforming school culture, how to overcome staff division, overcoming the achievement gap, liberating mindsets of effective change, the will to lead and the skill to teach, transforming schools at every level. Listen, over 26 articles. We are powerhouses in this nation. And the goal of my channel, of my outreach that I've been doing since 2009 is to introduce the world to us. So welcome to everybody. I want to go around the room and have each of you share what has most impacted you about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's universal educational system. And I know we know a lot, so y'all kind of keep the comments to about 2-3. I'm going to start with you, sister. Ladies first, sisters first. How has the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's system of education impacted you?
Okay, so I'm going to keep it really short. It has impacted me in a manner that has made me determined to share the blessings of the educational paradigm that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has offered to us for over 90 years. I am, of course, the child of Muslim parents, and I went to Muhammad University of Islam as a child, and my mother taught at Muhammad University, and my father, of course, was a minister under the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. May Allah be well pleased with him. And it was always told to us that we must master everything. So as a member of the administrative team now at MUI and a direct instruction service provider and an educational consultant, I always remember that, because often our children are given these low standards, and often their expectation of themselves is so low that they never reach the mark. So the way it has influenced me the most is it has led me to know, not just believe, that to know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's educational system, paradigm, and way of teaching is the only way to success for not just our children, anyone's children.
Thank you, Sister Lisa.
You're welcome.
Brother Talib, talk to me about the history of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in education and what you know of his accomplishments and sacrifices.
Well, I think you mentioned a little bit of it at the onset of the program, but we know that educational process, that new educational paradigm began when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad met his teacher, Master Fard Muhammad, on that fateful day in September of 1931. A student-teacher relationship began, and from that, the transferring of a new educational paradigm, new wisdom, new knowledge from one man to another, and then to a nation. And so the early sacrifice, I say it all the time at our commencement ceremony, giving honor and thanks to not only Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but those early pioneers that we don't know all their names.
Right.
And they made a sacrifice in Detroit. They were arrested so that we can be here today. So I always remind the students, there are people you don't know that made a way for you and me. So from the arrest that took place in 1932 of staff, to the courage of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He didn't run from the police. He went down to the police station. See, he's teaching us with his actions of what kind of people we need to be. And we're really going to have an independent educational system separate from the slave-making educational system of our enemy. Not only that, the pioneers, the students, Mother Clara Muhammad, who can never be left out of this story of independent education. And as you mentioned, Sister Sajdah, that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad really is the pioneer. He dared to do something that nobody else had the courage to do. And so now today we can drive down Chicago. You see Nikaboo's daycare center, right? You see all the little storefront and home schools. Is because he and those pioneers paid a price. And we can't leave out the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Absolutely not.
Because he had to rebuild the work of his father, starting essentially with nothing. Zero. Except that idea and the love and faith in his heart. And here we are in 2022, continuing the work as continual pioneers to move this a new educational paradigm down the road and develop it for our community, our people, and for a bright future.
Thank you, Brother Talib. Long live Muhammad.
Absolutely.
Brother Malik and Brother Anthony, I'm going to pose this same question to you, but slightly different. How do you see this educational paradigm that Sister Lisa and Brother Talib just laid out? How does that then reverberate into our broader community? And how has that affected your work in the broader community? Brother Malik, I'll start with you.
Okay, praise be to Allah.
Praise be to
Thank you,
Allah.
Sister Sajdah. For me, listening to Brother Talib, he said so many things that I definitely wanted to touch on. All praises due to Allah, because I'll tell you that the sacrifice is the first thing that I think about that happens in order for us to be able to strive, to continue, to establish independent institutions in the country. And I want to say, to answer your question, as you go out into the broader community, one of the things that I find to be a common denominator is, in order to get the results of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you have to put your foot down and stand on the very principles that brought about his success. Yes. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan did just that, and he was able to reproduce the same thing. What I see in my work within school systems is the fearlessness of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is now starting to awaken in more and more Black educators, whereas 10 to 15 years before, you didn't see that boldness. It wasn't as common as it is now. There are even workshops that I see that the title of the workshops is addressing white supremacy. I mean, this is like literally in the title of certain things. So I'm like, yeah, it's about that time. And so what I think about as I move around and watch what's happening is, I'm so appreciative and I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to be part of such a wonderful, marvelous nation of Islam. To be able to have an opportunity to know the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and to strive to be a champion and an advocate for children in a way that would produce gods. I want to be real clear, Sister Sajdah. This is not about getting the education. This is about producing gods. And I want to say this to my brother Anthony before he answers. He's heard me say this hundreds of times in private, but I'm so happy to say it right now in public. Let me just tell you and your listening audience, this humble brother to my right or left, depending on where you looking at it from on your screen, he is a God. I repeat, he is a God in this education space. I believe it was 2000, maybe 13 or somewhere around there. He was doing a workshop in Duncanville, Texas.
Okay.
And I mean, Duncanville, a suburb of Dallas. And listen to me. I'm sitting in the back of the room. And in my mind, I'm saying to myself, this brother is teaching the study guides, as the minister would say, jam up.
Chills. Yeah.
Great teachings. And it was, I think at that time, it was very handful of people in the room, Black people in the room. And so when it was over, I, in amazement, was talking to the brother, and he's so humble and he's so knowledgeable. It is because of him that I'm in this consulting space to the degree that I am. He is my mentor. He is the person that I call on and go to for whatever I need in this educational space. And I'm just honored to be able to have him as my brother and my mentor, because he does not back down. I just want those who don't know him in the space like I see him in the space. He's not backing down. He's not hiding who he's with. He is for sure with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And as a young brother coming into the space, he fed my faith so much that now it is to the point to where I'm learning of the answers and questions and conversations that he and I had before that I'm walking into now. So I just want to tell him that personally, that I love him, and I tell him all the time privately, but it's nothing like giving people flowers while they live.
Amen.
And I'm telling you right now, we are blessed in the Nation of Islam to have this brother on our side, because he is truly a God in the educational space.
Thank you, Brother Allen. So well said. Brother Anthony, Dr. Anthony, what say you? We can't hear you. Oh no. I'm sorry, Brother Anthony. You're
We can't hear you, Brother Anthony.
I know he's saying some good stuff too.
I think he has the things in his ears, so the mic probably
right.
No.
No.
We can't hear you.
He may need to go up and come on sometime.
Yeah, he just hung up and came back, so that's okay. We're going to give him a chance to come back. We're going to move on. Brother Talib, our next question is for you. Let's talk about the importance of mathematical thinking. In businesses or national building, we need people who can think mathematically. Brother Malik said this is God making, and gods think mathematically. They need to be able to use comparative analysis, deductive reasoning, problem solving. How can the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic help prepare our students to be creative professionals?
Well, I think you really answered the question in the question, but it's so essential that we teach our children how to think, not just what to think.
Mm-hmm.
See, what a lot of times people just want to, in the educational field, get over content.
Yeah.
But not enough critical analysis, not enough time to question what is being presented by the reader.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so thinking mathematically is not just thinking in terms of 1 + 1, but it's understanding cause and effect relationships.
Right.
It's understanding what like real calculus is in the frame of making predictions based upon the actual facts that you have amongst you.
Mm-hmm.
So teaching children to think critically, teaching children to analyze, teaching children to ask questions so that they can learn all about themselves and the world around them, where we are not stifling the natural curiosity that the human being has. This all goes into developing a well-rounded student and human being. All of this has to be a part of any educational system that wants to develop a child, or develop a God,
right,
into his or her full potential.
Yeah, amen. Brother Anthony, you back with us?
I'm back. The problem was the input was on the wrong. I had to change the microphone input, so I apologize.
No, it's okay. This is live TV. This happens. Yeah. So I just wanted to let you comment on the question, because I could feel the energy. I know you were saying something powerful, so I want to hear it before we go on to the next question.
Well, thank you, dear sister, and I'm honored to be on the panel with these wonderful educators. And look like Brother Malik got kicked out for some reason.
Yeah, hopefully he did.
I was more than humbled by his comments, because I think we're all just servants trying to do the work, and we're, as the lessons tell us, that we're just all trying to be worthy and accepted before Allah.
Amen.
And if you're striving to do that, if you get accolades from men, then that's a bonus, but that's not your ultimate goal.
That's right.
And speaking of the influence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on me individually, and then on the broader spectrum, he's my savior.
Yes.
He liberated me. I was a pretty decorated high school athlete who got caught in the world. I didn't know who I was. I thought my goal was to be a professional athlete, was to get fame and acclaim and BMW and maybe some women. And when I heard his message, he told me who I was. And I felt like I was liberated.
Beautiful.
And that liberation was the fact that I'm a direct descendant of Allah himself, and that we are victims of the greatest crime against humanity, and that Allah came to save us. and that through what he taught him, we'd be able to liberate our people and eventually liberate the entire planet. So the fact that I get a chance to walk in a light of knowing who I am,
Yes,
original man, the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe, not in a way that's haughty, but in taking the responsibility of sharing what I know and what is done for me. I watch the news a little differently than most. I read the signs. We have the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, his greatest minister and teacher. So I take that confidence into the education world with me. And what I found is that what we were taught in point number 12 was believe that Allah came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, and that for him, he will set up a universal government of peace through which we can all live in peace. I found that message resonates with people.
yes.
I'm in the state of Utah today.
Look at that.
I'm going to Ethiopia in a couple of weeks.
Wow.
In Montana, South Dakota, south side of Chicago. That our message is a liberating message.
That's right.
That when the best of us comes out and we're able to contribute to humanity and free ourselves of technology, free ourselves of greed, of selfishness, of hate, of vitriol towards others. Imagine how wonderful this world could be if all of the talents that God gave us, we can manifest, and as Brother Malik said, bring out the God in each and every one of us with a sense of brotherhood and sisterhood. That my talent is to help lift up Brother Talib, lift up Sister Lisa, and that education becomes a conduit to develop that type of intellect and character.
That's right.
And when I get a chance to go out, I feel myself, or I feel that I'm a representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, spreading his message in a lane that I've been provided, and we've all been provided lanes, and we're building that universal government of peace. Because once the human being experiences liberation and peace, our natural gifts and talents come out, and we'll build paradise.
That's right.
On earth. But it's the devilishment, it's the hate, it's the self-hate, it's the lack of self-love that hinders that. And I'm so grateful that with the third grade education, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad felt that teaching that lesson to children, that we couldn't at that time teach them physics or chemistry, but self-love would be the foundation of them going into those endeavors. And we have doctors and nurses and engineers in the nation today because a man with a third grade education taught us about ourselves, liberating us to be able to manifest those talents. And the next frontier is the entire world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you, brother. Thank you for those very profound words. Brother Malik, I think he's trying to get back on, so we're going to keep going. My next question was for him, but Sister Lisa, we'll go to you.
Yes,
I know you're a big component of our students having experiences. How can experiences outside of the classroom enrich their educational process and better prepare them for the world?
Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. I'll take the example of the self-improvement study guides. For those of us who are not familiar with the study guides, this is a series of self-improvement lessons that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, through and with Sister Dr. Minister Ava Muhammad, may Allah be well pleased, developed, that we study for personal self-improvement, which leads to community development. And in those studies, there were two parts. You had the study, you had the theoretical, and then you left the circle and you had to practically apply what you were to have learned. And I'll reference something, Dr. Anthony, that I believe I first heard from you, or probably from Brother Talib through you, in one of our professional developments, dealing with the concept of learning by doing. And I believe that what we must do, the minister said in one of the educational conferences that was held here at Muhammad University of Islam in Chicago, that education must be education for life. So in order for it to be education for life, you have to practice it. You can learn it, you can study it, but at some point, in order to demonstrate that you actually know it, you have to demonstrate it. And so you have to do it. And so that is one of the reasons where I am a absolutely serious advocate of making sure that whatever we're teaching from a theoretical standpoint, that student has to be able to demonstrate it from various and demonstrate an understanding of it from various angles and in real world situations. Brother Talib, you asked Brother Talib a question about mathematics, and that, of course, is one of the areas that I very much enjoy teaching. And to be mathematically literate means that you can take the concepts of mathematics and you can solve a problem. You can look at the problem from various perspectives and various angles, and then you can apply the lessons learned in that mathematical lesson to real world situations. That is what our children must be able to do. And they must be taught to do it at a very early age. And then I'll take a page from your book, Sister Sajdah, where you talked about your father would allow you to roll with him. So we have to allow our children to roll with us. We have to allow our staff to roll with us. Everybody who has more has a responsibility and a duty to give more. And in order to give more, we have to make sure that we are not intimidated by those that are coming. They're coming. They're coming after us because our time is going to end at a certain point. But as the minister said, we live on through those that we touch. So I would say that is just I guess a small description of how I know that experiences in real world situations will help our children.
Yeah, one of the fondest memories that I have of my father is it could be Saturday morning, whenever I'd be in my room, and I was one of those brainiac type of children. I'd be in my room, whether I was reading books, I had all these books, or I played the flute and the organ. So I would mimic different things that I heard in music and play it. And my dad would come to the door. You rolling? And I'd be getting my shoes on, like, yeah, because I knew we were going somewhere to one of his businesses or something. So I appreciate you saying that. Our brother Malik isn't back yet. So I'm going to pose this question to you, Dr. Anthony. Congratulations on being recognized by the Global Gurus organization as one of the 30 most influential educational thought leaders. And I have to say that again, because that's important. And I know that this is a loaded question, but tell us a few elements that must be incorporated into our educational systems that will help to prepare us to compete on a global level. And I'll tell you why I asked that question, because you know, everybody has their assignment, right? And Allah quickly thrust me. I worked for a number of years at the National Center and very closely, you know, with the laboring staff, with the minister. And then Allah thrust me quickly. I left to take a 6-month break. But then he started moving me around internationally. And I found myself going, why am I here? Why am I here? And so I developed this, you know, this whole thing of just really being an international entrepreneur. It became very easy for me to get paid consulting projects and start businesses. But as I sat there, I started to think, how do we compete on this level? And so I would pose that question to you today.
Great question. Thank you. And I wanted to start by validating and supporting something what Sister Lisa said about experiential learning. From a neurological standpoint, when you experience something and it's fueled by curiosity, the brain actually forms a stronger synapse, which is the neurological connection of your learning, and it creates a learning network. So when you experience something, that actually creates a thicker synapse. It also, when curiosity fuels the learning, it also makes the body release dopamine, which some will call a natural high.
Right.
So when these things are not quickened in our students, then we wonder why they're bored and not engaged in school, because often as educators, we don't understand the science of neurology and the science of the brain and the science of human cognition, which our current public system misses the mark on in many ways. To go to your question about international preparation, as I get a chance to travel internationally, because we've been taught in a way that we think about a nation, not a church, not an organization, but a nation. I've gotten the opportunity as I've traveled to see how nations are constructed and what they need.
That's what I wanted.
Somebody has to design roads. Somebody has to build a waterworks and a water purification system. Somebody has to run an electrical grid.
Yes.
Somebody has to create a health care system.
Yes.
Somebody needs to run the economic and monetary.
Mm-hmm.
So as we start to prepare our children, not to get a job, but to think about as pioneers, how can, if we got 7 to 10 states,
right,
we even know what to do with them.
Right.
Well, we know how to build a factory and create a distribution system. So these real life dilemmas and quandaries, that if you want to, as the minister said, get out of being a colony where we're just sucked, the life is sucked out of our community, where our needs are taken care of by those around us, like infants, that we have to get up and do something for ourselves.
Amen.
So as believers, as we think about what can you contribute to the development of a community, a nation, that will be useful. I think about the European colonists who came over to the United States, and I mean, these were really the underbelly of European society. These weren't the cream of the crop.
No.
And in less than 200 years, they were able to create one of the greatest nations in the last 6,000 years, because they didn't waste their time on being trifling.
Come on, brother.
They didn't waste their time on idle talk and doubt. They created a doctrine called manifest destiny and saw themselves as rulers from Atlantic to Pacific. They built millions of miles of roads, an entire electrical grid. They produced a water and public works system. This is how we have to start to teach our children, not passing some frivolous standardized test. It's nice to do that. But that's not the hallmark of excellence. So our children have to start to learn, as architects and builders, what can you learn in your 12, 13 years in education that would allow you to be a contributor to that? And as we travel around a city like Chicago and we see streets named after people that we don't even know about, who contributed to the development of the city of Chicago. They didn't have to be seen by many. It was somebody who started a school, somebody who started a hospital, somebody who started a market. Just start where you are and teach our children to be contributors to the development of a holistic society. And the rest of the world is looking for that too. I remember I'll close when Malcolm X went to the African Union and he came to them saying that I came to Africa to learn from you about how we can produce unity back in the United States. And the answer was, we thought we wanted to learn the same from you. We don't know how to do it. We were hoping you were going to teach us that.
Right.
The rest of the world is waiting on us to rise.
Yes.
The blueprint that we've been given by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on how to make a righteous, sustainable nation.
That's right. Thank you, Brother Anthony. I was told by a major business person in Africa, he looked at me and he said, our salvation is wrapped up in you all. I was doing some consulting work for a company that builds cities. And this was the types of conversations that was happening. We have to build the grid. We have to build a sewer system. We have to have our emergency response teams. And so, you know, it just it brought my thinking from here as a corporate person to here as a God and a nation builder. So thank you for those comments. Welcome back, Brother Malik.
Glad to be back. I could hear some of it.
That's okay. My question for you is, you know, because I am so impressed by what you and your wife have built for your family in terms of a legacy of Black excellence. And I understand that your children were homeschooled. And you and I talked about this a little the other day. How do parents who prefer to homeschool their children ensure that they have a healthy level of social intelligence?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Well, the first thing that I would say to that is when it comes to social beings, and again, remember, this is all about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that we're talking about.
Right.
If we are truly a family, One of the things that I believe causes the greatest deterrent for us in reaching that goal is first this: we can't get confused in hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that, the God told him, brother, don't worry about your family, be about this mission, and I'll take care of your family. Okay, that's right. That's what he was told. That's not what we was told. Okay, he told us, brother, you take care of your family. He told us, brother, I don't care if you got to show up to FOI class in dirty overalls, but when they see your wife and your children, that's where they see who you really are. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. I think that one point, Sister Sajdah, is what's hindering us who desire to homeschool, because we start off from the wrong reference point. Let me go a little further. If I'm homeschooling, according to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he and what he has in mind has to be at the root of why we're doing what we're doing, and every decision that is made by that parent who wants to homeschool in his name has to put him first in their personal life. That don't mean that we're going to be perfect, because I'm sure not. Right. But what I'm saying is that we have to strive to be the best that we can be, and not pretend that we know everything and believe in a mystery God and think that if I hide these children away from everybody, then that alone is saving them. It's not. It's going to make them socially awkward. They won't move about society and demand the respect that a young God should have. So the first thing I would say is, parents, we got to make sure we with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Ooh. If we're not educators, we need to make certain that we confide in those near us in the mosque, in the study group, or reach out to someone. We have technology now. You can reach out to anyone in the world, but you got to be able to access the areas that you're weak in, and not allow your ego or your zeal in being a Muslim to override reason. Because oftentimes we'll say, and I know everybody on this call can bear witness, you'll meet a parent and they'll say, yeah, my children are homeschooled, my children are this. But I mean, if we want to take the standards, the basic standards of the enemy, most of the times we won't even meet the enemy standards, talking about we producing gods. That's not right. And we're misleading the youth down a path that's going to make it extremely difficult for them to overcome, because we know in education that all it takes is 1 year of bad instruction. You're going to need 3 years of instruction from a master teacher just to recover from that 1 year of bad instruction. Well, what if I'm a believing Muslim and I just believe, and I'm a homeschool my child from 3 to 8, and at 8 I finally realized that maybe I didn't know what I was doing? That's 5 years. According to research, it's going to take 15 years of instruction to recover from what I've done. And this is the issue that we're having in education. We absolutely cannot move on our emotions. Listen, my wife and I, by Allah's grace, we tag team. I was in the public school teaching. My wife agreed to stay at home and teach our children. But when I came home, she left to have her time and her sanity to get away from children, because she needs that time to rejuvenate. I'm coming right behind her to reinforce, to support, to assist. It's a team effort. Mm-hmm. And the sports is okay. It's okay if they want to hoop. I did. I just hid my stuff. I was a pretty good high school, college player, but I was smart enough to know that I wasn't trying to make hoopers. I was trying to make Muslims. So I took all of my newspaper clippings, all my articles, all my medallions, my Letterman jacket, and I put it in the stores because I didn't want my children to see it, because I already knew if they saw that, that was going to be a distraction in us, my wife and I, wanting to make Muslim children. So we hid all of that. I'm saying that to say parents need to be mindful that we are the primary, it's our primary responsibility, not MUI. MUI is great. Praise be to Allah for Brother Talib and Sister Lisa and Sister Kabasa and Sister what are the other sisters' names that I met? Wonderful instructors there. So many of them. They're gonna be mad. Sister Marlo, y'all forgive me for not remembering all y'all names. But that they are there, but that's not their job. They are support. It is the responsibility of the parents to make certain that those children receive what they are supposed to receive. And then if we have an MUI, it's a partnership. So I would heavily encourage the believers to, number one, make sure that we know the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and we are aligned with the purpose of homeschooling, number one. Number two, let's strive to make certain that every identified weakness that we know we have, let's get with a brother or sister to help us fill that gap so that we can provide quality education to our children, because that's what they deserve. And then number three, don't go overboard with the social, because sometimes you see on social media our children going to proms. We sending so many. We got the fact that we messing up. They innocent. We're responsible as the parents. There's no way the most honorable Elijah Muhammad to get along with our children. So it's certain things in our culture and our way that we don't do, and we got to stand firm on that. We can't bow to the pressure of socially and all of a sudden say, well, you know, it's going to be a chaperone or they're going to be going here doing that. No, it needs to be a hard no. If the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would not adhere to that, or he would not allow that, that just needs to be what that is, period. We cannot begin to negotiate the way of the world, claiming that we're trying to produce Muslim children under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Malik, because the making of a God requires a prescription, right? A prescriptive life. And and that's very important. You know, it's interesting, before I go on to my next question, some of you all might know that I was chief builder and primary builder and minority partner of a micro hospital in the Washington, D.C. area. And I've interviewed so many young doctors and young healthcare professionals. And what I found with so many of them, especially the Black ones, that they went into that endeavor as a major because it sounded good. And, you know, we see the world based on how the world sees us, right? So if our parent says, oh, my daughter's going to be a doctor, or my son's going to be a microsurgeon or whatever, then the child goes through with it, but it's not their passion. And so my question for Brother Talib, I'll start with you, is how do you pull out their passion as opposed to socially and culturally pushing them into a field of study that they really don't have a passion for? And I'll give you one other, let me just say a few things on that. My business partner grew up in the streets. His mother is from Mississippi. His father was from Liberia. And his father got killed in a coup attempt with President Tolbert when he was like 10 or 11 years old. So his mother was left to raise 8 children, 8 boys on a teacher's salary. So naturally, the boys went out in the street. They started gangs, they sold drugs, they was doing all kind of stuff. And one day he just said, he knew he always wanted to be a doctor. So he decided, okay, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to be a doctor. But what I watched from him, because it's his passion, I saw him save people's lives that nobody else could save. I literally could see the God come in him when he went into surgery, when some of these other people that probably had a longer resume would pass out at the sight of blood. Or if a patient smelled bad, they passed out. And so what I started to learn in that field was this is a big field we're pushing our children into, and it's just one of them. But nobody says to them, what are you passionate about? And so that's my question, Brother Talib. How do we help them find their authentic passion? I know the minister has so beautifully been telling us lately, be yourself. How do we do that as educators?
Well, I have to be honest. I'm still learning that. I really am still learning that. But I would say this. The minister teaches us that what we love to do is what we're born to do. But sometimes if children, they'll love something for a moment.
Right.
And then they're moving on. So they had an affinity for it. I think part of the process is what we were talking about earlier, is that exposure to different things, different fields, so that they can have a broader picture. Because sometimes, as you mentioned, what you have in your head is what a doctor is, could be from television. Until you get in front of a real body that's reading it, and they're like, hey, I don't do blood. I just do, TV doctor stuff.
And I've actually had young doctors tell me that I don't do blood.
Exactly. So one of the things I think is exposure. And I'm recalling my desire for my daughter. When she was young, we used to call her Dr. Sania because that's what we wanted her to be.
Yeah.
So it was Dr. Sania, and she had no inclination towards being a doctor. Then we thought it was Engineer Sania, and we tried to fund that and encourage it, and that wasn't her thing. So what we started to do was to just observe more, because we know in Islam there is no compulsion, but there's plenty of guidance. And we can support our children, and they're going to be trying to figure it out. But at the same time, as a parent, we should be exposing them. We should also be sharing with them what a nation needs according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, so that they have a broader awareness than just their own selves, but how they can render what they have and what they do into service for their nation. But just allowing them to have a level of experimentation that allows them to really find out who they are, not just on the broader sense, but really as a human being, what I love to do. And that takes being exposed to things and being exposed to experiences so they can really discover it. So that's an area that I'm still learning as
I think that's excellent. Yeah. And giving them permission.
Yes.
I think that's awesome. Our last topic, I see a system. Thank you, Brother Talib, for that, by the way.
Thank you.
I see a system where our business community is more involved with the education of our children, from providing opportunities and creating talent pools to raising funds for independent education, to offering experiences such as career days, shadowing, apprenticeships, internships. And I want to pose this last questions to each of you. How do you see this type of relationship benefiting our children and the future of our nation? And I know we've kind of mulled over there, but I just want to bring it home with those programmatic things in terms of how this partnership between us as entrepreneurs and you all as educators can be more formally developed. And I'll start with you, Sister Lisa.
Thank you. I'll say that actually your prior question to Brother Talib and this question are tied in. One of the areas that I believe that we have to continue to focus on, and we're blessed to be at Muhammad University, so this area is actually infused throughout our curriculum, is the development of character. Because character education helps to shape the way you think. And the way you think helps to shape the way you act. And the way you act, of course, will lead to the different opportunities. I believe with regard to our businesses and our entrepreneurs, especially I'll use you for an example. You've done so many series about predatory capitalism and conscious capitalism. Those are terms that most young people, most of the ones that I've worked with, they never would have heard of. They've never heard of until being fortunate and blessed to work with you. Well, that connection between Muhammad University of Islam and our affiliates with Sajdah House and the Mo Today movement and all of the different organizations and businesses that fall under the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad allows us to not only develop the student from an academic standpoint, but from a character standpoint, because we know that the minister has reminded us that you can be an educated devil. And so, like you said at the beginning, or it might have been before we went on the air, we cannot bring the enemy system of business into what we're saying is going to be now our businesses. The same thing applies when it comes to the educational program. So I think that we have to make sure that our young people know that it's not that you're entitled to work with businesses that are owned and operated by members of the Nation of Islam. You have to earn that. And the way you earn it is by developing yourself academically, developing your character. I know we've previously talked about even professional development from a consulting standpoint of how our students can learn even some of those things at a very young age. So there's a high expectation. And that's why they look forward to bringing our students on, because they have an expectation of not having to worry about dishonesty. They know there's a high level of integrity. So I think that we have to have some practical discussions, some real candid discussions about how the relationships can be developed, but there has to be some criteria, and there has to be a situation where the students that are placed into these programs actually earn those spots.
Yeah, I love that. And shout out to Brother Wazir Muhammad, who was the former national accountant, who was very instrumental in bringing me to Chicago in the 90s. And he started me on my first assignment he gave me was he wanted me to start automating things. And I remember he kept saying to me over and over again, no. You can't bring that system over here. You got to put the teachers with it. And I did not understand that. And I always thought, it took me a while to get it. And it really wasn't until many years later when I started opening my own business, like, oh, this is how you infuse the teachings. This is how you put the study guides and your policies and procedures and your systems. And I said, what if I had been taught that as a little girl? Then Brother Wazir wouldn't have had to yell at me. I was a whole big college graduate. I thought I was really something, but that's just, I think to that point, that's very important. Brother Anthony, what say you to that?
I would echo what Sister Lisa said, that the partnership has to be authentic, and there has to be some meaning and some integrity to it. And I bring up, I don't know if you've had a chance to read a book called The Prize, and it was chronicling the multi-million-dollar award that Mark Zuckerberg gave to the Newark Public Schools.
Okay.
Come to find out, his sister was a big charter school advocate, and it was more of seed money to start to break up the Newark Public Schools. There's always some technology behind any, when they offer the hand, is usually it's done with a forked tongue.
Yeah.
So we have to vet these opportunities very carefully and make sure that there's a partnership, because in this world, until there's a new world, nobody gives something for nothing.
Right.
And we have to vet their motives, their intentions, and to make sure that it's a true partnership and there's a benefit on both sides. And that's one of the ways that you can keep some of the satanic mind in check. But I'm always a little skeptical unless I know and that I've vetted the people that I want to give my children access to an opportunity to, that is for the right motivation, it's the right experience, that there's a benefit to procure from it, and that it's applicable to what the expectation I have for my child or children are. When I was a principal in Michigan, we had a whole business and community council that assisted us in taking our curriculum and our children applying it. But I vetted those people very carefully to make sure that white supremacy wouldn't come out in those opportunities, that a chance to mistreat our children or speak to them in a way that was demeaning, that you had to be the right person. So Sister Lisa's point about character is really essential. Though we want to be optimistic, we still are in Satan's world, hasn't fallen totally yet.
Yeah.
And we have to be careful. But those opportunities are invaluable. And that's the kind of opportunities that white children get they get that opportunity to do those internships, those externships, those experiences. But we have to be careful that we're not sacrificing our students, their morals, their moral development. And this becomes an experience that they can build upon the type of human being that we're trying to help them to become. But they are absolutely essential. It helps with the authenticity of the idea. We can transfer the idea into reality through having our children with opportunities to implement that in a way that enriches their learning experience.
All praises due to Allah. And we are running short of time. I know everybody got day jobs, and Brother Anthony, I promise you I wouldn't keep you too long. I just want to go around the room real quickly. If you have any last minute remarks that you want to make, any suggestions, any opportunities, or any product or service that you would like to share with our listening audience. And I want to remind everyone, make sure you like and subscribe to this page. You can go back later and re-listen to this and any of our other Mind of an Entrepreneur programs, because we're really dissecting this whole idea of nation building and what it really means to be an entrepreneur as a conscious, God-fearing individual, and as someone who is looking to sustain themselves as a God, as opposed to as a colonized person or as a slave. So I'll go back to you, Brother Talib, and have you start. We'll just go around the room. Any last final comments, any websites or anything you want to give, and we'll sign off. And inshallah, we will be able to continue this discussion and really create these programs, because I'm the kind of person, I believe that in business, you're only as good as what you can make happen. And I don't want this to be just a great conversation, but then we never follow up with programs. I don't want this to be where ideas go to die. So we got to make sure we commit to the next stage. So Brother Talib, yes, I'll let you, with your closing remarks, start first.
Well, first, real quick, I just want to thank you. It's such an honor to be on the panel with, of course, I work with Sister Lisa every single day, and I admire her and love her work. And she's so valued here at MUI and in our nation. And thank you, Sister Sajdah, for the invitation. And my two brothers that have become my mentors as well. Yes. The saga continues. I love you all deeply. I love your minds. I love how Allah is using both of you. I just love my nation. Just two quick things. One, of course, continue to support Muhammad University of Islam in whatever city that you're in.
Yes.
Your resources, your time.
That's right.
And independent schools in general. And for the business community, go up to the school, contact the directors or the people at the school to see how can you connect with the school and the students and opportunities so that we can develop these relationships with businesses. And even if you're, you don't have to be this large business, but it can be a business where our students and our children can see the connection between the classroom and the world that they're getting ready to walk into, or the world that they desire to create. So those would be the two things that I just would mention: support MUI and independent schools, and ask business owners and business people to connect with independent schools in their area.
Sister Lisa, I'll go with you for your last minute comment and closing comments.
Yes, ma'am. Sister Sajdah, you said what I was going to say, and then Brother Talib said what I was going to say. So I'll say, please support the Sajdah House Restoration and Renovation initiative. It is through your efforts that we are blessed to be on this platform today. Brother Talib identified Brother Dr. Anthony and Brother Malik as his mentors. So I got to one up you because I get to have Sister Sajdah as my mentor. I'm claiming Brother Malik, I'm claiming Dr. Anthony, and I'm claiming you. So I thank Allah. I think I'm the baby in this group. But I'm so excited. And I would echo what Sister Sajdah said about not allowing this to be a nice conversation. I told myself that I'm going to start saying I'm an actualizer. You know how they have Equalizer movie? Well, I really want to be that actualizer. I want us to make our ideas real, make them concrete, because our children have been given a lot of empty promises, maybe not by us individually, but as a unit, our people have made a lot of promises and for whatever reason have not been able to keep them. And that one is not a good example for the young people, and it's not fair. And there's so much that we can do if we just come together. So please support the Sajdah House project, because I believe that through it, there are a number of initiatives that not only our young people can learn about, but they can become actively engaged in. So that would be my piece. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sister.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, or Sajdah House, will be place-based education. And we want to do a big initiative with our independent school systems so they get a chance to learn the truth about the three great men that have everything to do with why we're even having this discussion today. So, Brother Malik, what would you say for your closing remarks? And please give any website or any information in case people want to bring you on board or hire you as well.
Yes, ma'am. First, I want to thank you for the opportunity. I have thoroughly enjoyed myself today, and I pray Allah that we will get a chance to do it again, because it is a conversation that absolutely must continue.
Yes.
I want to thank you, Sister Lisa, Brother Talib, and Brother Anthony, my comrades in this fight for the independent academic institutions, whether it is on that field or it's in the mass society. One of the things that I want to say for us as believers is, please, I'm petitioning us all, let's start with the children who are in our home. If we have young children that are still school age, let's double down, triple down, quadruple down. Let's make certain that we are providing the needs, the time, the attention, the care for the children that we actually have in our own homes. Let's not treat them as if they already raised their hand to become a registered member in our nation. Let's treat them as if they need to get convinced. Let's treat them as lost founds. They just blessed to wear your Muhammad or your name. But I don't want us to overlook how important it is just being good old dad, just being good old mom. Those are some very lofty titles that sometimes get lost in the activity of our day-to-day lives, where we're almost separated. We just live in this house together, but we're separated. We don't really know each other. So that's number one for me. I want to encourage us all to turn towards them and give them the time and attention that they need. And I will say this is a 1A. I know when we were growing up, some of our parents may have told us, when you're 18, you're grown and you need to go and you're becoming grown. Listen, I want to warn us all. This is not that time.
Amen.
Our
right.
18 to 27, 28-year-old children need us now more than ever. So please, let's not just give them to the world. Please, let's build our relationships with them. Please, let's love them and double down on our love for them and support them. I'm not saying be passive with them. I'm saying give them the guidance that they need. Whether they accept it or not, it's not up to us. But Allah is holding us accountable for being there for them and offering them the right guidance. And when He blesses us to see why some of them won't listen to us, maybe because of our examples previously, let's just humble ourselves and strive to be better parents. But at all costs, don't throw them away to the world. The second thing that I would say is, when we begin this journey or continue this journey in creating independent school systems or striving to produce gods, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan shared a story about some farmers that he met. And any of you who know where they are and the names, please jump in. But basically, it was a group of farmers, and I believe their children only went up to the 8th grade, but their job was just to produce the food. And so I'm saying that to say, Brother Anthony mentioned the building of a world. There's no way we're going to build a full-time nation with part-time participants. So somebody has to make the sacrifice to say, you know what? let me be the first one to get to lay the foundation. So coming after me, maybe there'll be someone that is going to be full-time. This is the opportunity that they have so that they can put blinders on and focus on establishing the kingdom of heaven on earth as we are taught that it would be. I would like to encourage us to do that, because somebody has to be the one to break the cycle. Somebody has to be the one to say, you know what? I'm the last one in the family to you fill in the blank. It ends with me in this area, but everybody after me will stand on my shoulders and move forward in a way that we would have made progress that is visible and produce things in reality, so that we can see the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on a great scale in our own homes, so that when we come together as believers, it's just power compounded. Thank you. I appreciate it. Assalamu alaikum.
To Allah. Wa alaikum salam. I love that. Brother Anthony, you want to close us out? And I'm
Yes,
sorry
ma'am.
for keeping you so long.
It's all good, and I'll be brief. I want to thank you, and thank you for your spirit to restore the home of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and your vigor for putting together this platform. And I'm honored to be invited and be a part of this. I'm honored to say thank you to my fellow panelists, who I respect as not only educators, but as great human beings and great Muslims. My closing comment is really simple, and it echoes Sister Lisa and Brother Talib: support Muhammad University of Islam. I believe Muhammad University of Islam will be the blueprint or the foundation for an independent system that time and circumstance will produce. Yes. The current public school system is falling.
That's right.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us to do for self before you're forced to. And we're reaching a point where we're going to be forced to. Just a few statistics to share with you. We're in the midst of the largest teacher shortage in American history. Fewer young people are going into education, and more teachers are retiring. Chicago Public Schools just this past year experienced an 85% increase in teacher resignation and teacher retirement. And most states are running a 25 to 30% decrease in new teacher certification. And you can guess which schools those teachers who are becoming certified are choosing not to go to.
Come on now.
It's the ones where the children look like us.
Yes.
So we are being forced into an independent system, whether we want to or not. So we might as well be proactive. And as our dear brother student Minister Nuri said, we want unity, not necessarily uniformity.
Yeah.
Every independent won't be MUI. We'll have Afrocentric schools, we'll have Christian schools, but MUI can serve as a blueprint of funding, structure, excellence for independent Black education. We can create a network. So if you want to do something just really just direct and right away, support financially, support with your efforts, support with your well wishes and resources, Muhammad University of Islam.
Brother Talib, where do they go if they want to donate? People on here want to donate. I took down the donate to Sajdah House because we're going to get there. But I want to also put up how do they donate and support Muhammad University of Islam if there are people watching right now who want to give?
They can go to our webpage at muichicago.org. They can also contact our main office here in Chicago, Illinois, 773-643-0700. And you can make a charitable donation either online, or you can send a check or money order if you're still doing that. It all goes to the same place.
But most
people are, right?
Most
I want to thank all of the people that do give donations. We've gotten donations from as much as $1 or $2, and someone will write a beautiful note to donations to 5,000 or more. So don't think too little is not beneficial. Whatever God has blessed you with, we definitely can use your support so that it can help to better develop and further the programs that we have here at Muhammad University of Islam. So those two places, you can call us or you can go to muichicago.org. All of our information is there as well.
Thank you all. Y'all got me up here about to cry. So I'm gonna get off of here, because when I start talking about my nation and I just hear all this beautiful energy, I get close to. I don't want to go into the ugly cry in front of all y'all right now. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for accepting my invitation. Please let's all stay in touch so that we can really begin to bridge this gap and create a pipeline between our business people and our educational system. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wa alaikum salam.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I had to get off of there because I was literally about to cry at the end. And I did say that because as much as we are, working on donations for Sajdah House, we got lots of deadlines that we've moved past, and I really want to see us support Muhammad University of Islam, and it's just that important. So anyway, if you want to also support this platform, I have the Cash App going across the bottom. If you say, hey, I'm going to donate to MUI and to Sajdah House, you can do it on Cash App, $Mo Today, MOETODAY. Y'all know I always tell y'all, don't chip and dip me. Don't get on here and get all this beautiful and lovely information and then just get off and don't do anything about it. We have to get accustomed to financing excellence. So thank you all for joining me today. And inshallah, we'll be back next week. We have a powerful show next week on, I'm putting together about the importance of arts and culture. And this is all in honor and commemoration of the birth month of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Go out, follow me on IG, on social media, IG at Mo Today Universe, MOETODAY Universe, or Sajdah House, SAJDAHHOUSE. And inshallah, you all will all go out and get your commemorative Elijah coins. Peace and blessings, family.
This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1-ounce 39mm coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com.